knows? I've got a new menu, an audio settings menu. I haven't actually started anything yet, but I did I grabbed some script from one of my other, or a script from one of my other projects. I am going to start on some of these settings menus. Blah, blah, blah. I don't actually know what they're all going to contain yet. I'm kind of just taking some notes here, sort of make it bigger just in case. The main game settings menu at the moment, I think I'm going to have, there's supposed to be an in-game HUD that displays around the player ship. That will be an on-off button, toggle button. There's also the AI computer voice that tells pretty much every action that you're doing, like scanning and docking, and it talks. You can turn that on and off. There's also a sound effect that plays whenever a message is displaying. That's also going to be a toggle button, and it's like a kind of one of those old school RPG text sounds. So get to that. And then there's a text display speed for how fast you want things to display. I think I'm going to include that. I actually want to save this before I lose it. So game settings. Before I fill this folder up with too many of these, I want to put it into my file, or my folder with all the text files. Then audio settings menu is going to have game audio on and off that can mute and unmute the game audio, and right underneath that will be a slider for the master game volume. That will be all the music and sound effects. So there's some limitations. 001 doesn't have a way to separate the music volume and the sound effect volume. So one way I can actually make a sound effect volume level variable that I can use to control the level of sound effects, but unless I start every single song, every piece of music in the game with an event, which you can do, like let's say I just open some script editor here somewhere and you type in music. You've got all these little options here for the music, so you can play music at a specific volume. So this is how you can set a variable to represent the overall volume level of music in the game. Problem with the default stuff, like if you go into a map environment, I mean not properties, there's the option to change the music when you enter the map, but you can't do anything about the volume there. So that will just be controlled by a master volume slider or on and off. There's no way to separate them. I might fiddle around and find a way, but for now I'll just work on some basics. Then in the video options, there's some limited options for built-in stuff that 001 does. Graphic shading, specular rendering. And there's a full screen toggle for flipping between full screen and windowed mode. So I'm going to make an ugly interface. I think it's not going to look right at first, but there's a few things that I want to do. The game volume, I actually made like a fake little toggle switch in the old project, so I could come back, I can make a cool little toggle switch, I think. Let's say I want a rounded rectangular toggle. That's probably about 32. Doesn't even have to have any text. Just a little glass button. I can give it any of these little backgrounds for effects, and let's say I want to stretch it so it's in the middle there. I don't really like that. It's a bit too bright. So let's say I leave the texture stretching off. I want a different color palette here. At first, I'm not sure what palette to use. I want kind of like a orange and yellowish palette, but that's kind of alright. I do kind of like that. So that's like on and off. Really, I guess I should probably use my standard button palettes. I like that kind of on and off palette too, but let me grab my normal button. So I've just got this little round glass button. Go drop it in my buttons folder. Toggle button normal. And then I want the green. So toggle button active. Come back up here in my folder. I don't know if I need a disabled one or highlight. I do want, I think I want it pressed active, because you can flip the colors around, kind of make it look like a pressed button. I'll just use the green and the black for now. I'll just come back in here. I'm going to import those. I'll just create a new folder called Game Options, since I don't have a folder for my options menu stuff yet. So in here, I'll create a new sprite. Give it a name. I'll call it UI toggle. Actually, yeah, toggle button normal. Actually, want to go down to the idle pose and add the file there. And that will be all the way down here in the T's. Toggle button normal. Come in here because I gotta wipe out this background. Well, it's cutting out some stuff I didn't want it to. I thought I saved the background correctly. I need the background to be a bit darker than that. There we go. Save that. Let's toggle button active. And then I'll go grab my normal button, change the background so it's darker. It has to be a dark background. The program's so old, it's a piece of abandonware. You cannot get it anywhere anymore, but it doesn't do transparency, so I can't render transparency. I have to use a solid color background, and in order to make my buttons work, I have to pick a color that is different enough from the edges of the button itself that I can just wipe it out and I don't lose any color from my button, which I just lost there. I can fix that with a little dot, but it's cutting out a bit too much, and it's a little annoying because if the color is not dark enough, it doesn't work, and if it's too dark, it might change the color of the button, and that's kind of irritating in itself. So I do want to overwrite that with a darker color. Just try that. La 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 la. That took way too much of my button away. So it's hard to get right. I can't deny that. Sometimes it works with a lighter color. But I can tell when if I'm trying to get rid of that background Actually, I do have a means of fixing that. Let me go over here to my multi-2D. What is this, a 32 by 32? I need one of these. I made a series of correction masks for this purpose because they're hard to key out. So there's my fixed button. I can actually do this, change the background to pink or magenta, and we'll just, I think I could just save it as a bitmap. Let me just overwrite the old one. Ta-da! Then I can open up my, I don't actually want it to do this. One sec. There we go. Overwrite the toggle button normal. Then we'll go grab the active one. Oop. I do lose a little bit of the button edge, I think. So just to compare, let's drop that in there. Drop that in there. I'll lose a small amount. It's hard because these are to correct large numbers of buttons, and I'm just trying to make these two quick small buttons, so I do lose some of my button effect there. Let me go in here. Da, 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 da. See, that's actually what I wanted. It's a little bit weird. I thought I had the mask set up to be 1. Why? Maybe I did not. Well, that's what I want. I want this here, and then let's re-render this guy. Yikes, didn't mean to work on buttons for so long. Just wanted these two quick toggle buttons. So I'll come back in here, grab that black button, grab that in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what I want, first I want to see what I lose a lot. Okay, so I want to do a square outline, and then from the 4 lines, come back over here. Just do it manually. There we go. A black bordered button, or slightly better looking black button. Glass extends to the edge. So now I'll overwrite my old ones, because why not? Okay, now come back in here, import the buttons, and their backgrounds will just key out because magenta is 001's transparent color. So I might have wanted to shrink them down just a little bit more. They've got these kind of light artifacts on the edge here. That's a little bit better. I do kind of want that rim around the outside. And now I can set this to overlay. Now, poke myself in the eyeball. Call this toggle button. Turn off any lighting, coloring, etc. Then I can copy it and paste it, and we'll just call it active. And replace that with the green one. And come in here, and this one's going to have some dark edges that I want to get rid of. I don't even even know if I need to do that. Oh yeah, I do. I don't want those. But no, 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 no. Still not quite right. Whatever. Okay, I don't need to work on buttons forever. Let's come back in here and create a new sprite field. And we'll use my little green button. That will be all the way down here. Use this as a toggle button. Whoa, I forgot to align anything because I do that every single time. So game options, come in here, delete the collision, and center the button. I do that every single time. Just kind of wish there was a way to turn that off. Now I can center that, and it'll go right in the middle there. The shadows are ugly. I don't want to use I don't want to keep the shadows in the background here. I'm just using these as dividers, sort of. So game audio. Master audio. Say on, off. And then I've got this button here. So you go into game, this is the options that you have available to you. That is it, that is all of them. You can make your own, sort of, in some cases, depending on what you're doing. You can make custom ones, but we're going to say this first one's going to be enable or disable sounds, and this will let you toggle on and off. Yes and no. So we'll say yes for that. I'm going to copy and paste this, say no, and then up here make a condition branch. And we'll go and check our game options, because down here you can check all of that, whether the sounds are enabled or disabled. So this will return a 1 or a 0. So if sound is enabled, we want to turn it off. If sound is off or 0, we want to turn it back on again. So first, I'll put in my comments, is game audio enabled? If it is, turn off game audio. If it is not, turn on game audio. Now these might be hard to see in the lower resolution videos that I've uploaded. If you watch this in high quality or HD, it'll probably look better. So right now I don't need any of that. And this, let me see, there's a way I set it up to retrieve the sprite, which is what I do want to do, because when you enter the interface, it has to retrieve a sprite based on the state, current game audio. So I just want to copy this. We'll come into the sprite retrieve field and create a script. You just click on this little square next to retrieve sprite. I'll paste in this condition. So if sounds are enabled, return value. What we made that was UI toggle button active. If it's on, we want the toggle button active button or sprite to be shown, and if it's not, we want the toggle button normal to be displayed. So this will be if you come into the interface and it's updated. And then I want to come back in here and go ahead and add a change sprite event. So I'll just say this So this interface, this sprite, we will change to the active button, or active toggle sprite, and we'll copy that and just change this one to normal. And make sure this is selectable. There's no selector on the interface, but actually I don't have anything turning this on yet, so let's go back here to audio settings, and when it's activated we want to pass the active interface to the audio settings, and we'll hide the previous menu, which is the options menu. That'll turn it off and turn on the audio settings menu. And then over here, back in the audio settings menu, we'll put a canceled trigger here, or put a script in the cancel trigger. So this will type in active, change the active interface back to the game options menu. Or I guess it's all the way, oh my gosh. And we want to hide the previous menu as well. That will be the audio. When you close the audio menu, it'll disappear. I'll just give that a shot really quick, see what happens. Turn up the sound just a little bit so we have some sound. Alright, into the options menu. Clicking on audio settings will bring up our misaligned, non-panned interface, which is already, I did something, oh yeah. So, I must have hit the enter button. That works, that turns the audio on and off. Audio's off. So you'll see that turns off all the sound. There's no more noise whatsoever, so if you just want to play in silence, you could. But you'll notice also music and everything starts over again. So that's where this little volume slider will come into play, and I'm going to do, first I have to make a simple sprite here. So we'll come over to the game options and create a new sprite. I'm going to call it UI volume slider bar. And I'll make a simple little sprite here. I think I'll set this to 1 so there's only one frame. I'm going to make it like 64. Let's make it 96 wide, and then height's going to be something like 2. Let's just have this line, and I will fill it with a light color, sort of something in the middle here, so we can see it, and center it before I forget. And I'll just call it volume bar. Set it to overlay and cut it out of the walking pose. Put it over here in the idle pose. Disable lighting, color unaffected. Ta-da! Done. Okay, now the way this works is associating these two fields together. So I want to create, first I want to create the bar, the volume bar. I'll just call it volume bar. Volume bar. None of these, none of these. It's actually going to be a, I can use a static sprite for now because it's just a 2 pixel tall line. And that will be this guy here. And we want to align it from the left side here so that the origin of this bar is at its left side instead of the center. Turn off per pixel cursor and let it sit there. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Now I've got this line. Oops. Yeah. I can stretch it out so it's the size of this thing here. So let's just say I'll stretch it to about here, and this right, or the left side, I mean, I want to be just slightly further in, because this is going to be positioned at the end of it, and it will only be able to move to the other end of it. I would like to do a fancier volume slider that has, like, you know, one of those cool little triangular ramps, old school style. But first I'll start with this slider thing. So this is called volume bar. That is our reference, our background image that this little slider will adhere to or stick to. So it's very easy. I'm using a static sprite field, and I'll just call this the volume slider. Don't need anything but selectable turned on, and it doesn't have any retrieve information. There's no scripting going on there. Be using any graphic. I'm just using a little square, and the mouse touch down set to activate this field. And I've copy pasted a script from my other project in here, so I don't actually need this log message. This will tell me that I'm clicking on it. And there's a switch that turns on that is not necessary in this project for now, so I don't need that, I don't need that. Scoot those over here, and I do need this control branch to check if the left click is being held down. So it's going to check if left click is being held, and I also don't need either of these, strangely. So all I need is this, 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 and this. This right here is to real-time change the volume of a song that is playing, so I'm going to put that over here. So what looked crazy isn't as crazy as it looked. So we'll start with this small variable here. I need to make a new local variable because I don't have one here, called offset x. And what this does is it stores the previous position that the cursor was. So as you're moving around, it just kind of holds the location of the cursor. And this is a big long script here that I have to rename some stuff. So I want it to be changing. I think right now this is setting a variable for volume level, and there's actually a game volume option, so I can have it set this bar here instead, which will be the master game volume, which is what I want this to be. So for now, rather than changing a variable here, I want to copy all this, and I want to paste it here. And let me make sure I'm not doing any weird multiplication. Okay, let me just paste this in here. Test that out. I have to rename a few things. So what this is going to be doing is clamping. Math.clamp is a little bit advanced if you have never used it before. All it does is clamp a value between two other values. So let's say, you know, my game volume basically is 0 to 100. This will give me a number that's in between 0 and 100 once I do all the math at the end here. But I want it to clamp the position of the volume slider to the size of the volume bar. So you see here player volume bar and cursor and all that. Volume bar is the background bar, the little line that I just made. So I want to go and change that. I want to change the names to match this interface's volume bar rather than player volume bar. So I can just go through and delete the word player from all of these. And I'll copy and paste this into my big text file over here so it's easier to see. It's a bit long. And what this is doing is we are taking this field's X position, which is, this is the volume slider, the little square, and we're adding the cursor's X position to it minus the previous position. So that's what this is. Cursor X minus offset X is the previous position of the cursor is being subtracted from where the cursor is now. And that will be added to the X position of this slider field. So the slider field is positioned right at the edge of the volume bar. And what we wanted to clamp to is the X position of the volume bar, which is the far left, and we want to take its position and add its size to it, because what that does is it takes the size from left to right. We're taking, you know, if it's 256 pixels, its X position, if the X position is 400 on the interface, to get the far right position, just add its size, because 256 will get you the coordinate of 656 if it's set at 400. That's a little confusing without drawing or breaking it down, but then there's a little offset thing here. It subtracts the volume bar's position finally to the entire thing. It'll all make sense here in a minute. And the very last thing we do is divide it by the volume bar's size. Then I want it to loop around, so I want it to loop, but we also want to position this field in the same manner. So I got to remove the word player from all of these. This is essentially the same script here. And one more. If I didn't break anything or do anything wrong, I should be able to just drag this little slider back and forth, and it will just stay constrained to the width of this slider bar. Volume's a little loud just for testing purposes. So you can see that I can drag and slide it. But it also killed my audio. So that's because the volume level is being controlled differently. So what I want to do first is move this, and I'm going to find a different way to store the volume level. So as this field is moved around, I do want to use this value here, I believe, to store a number, and then use that number to change the volume level. So it's been a minute since I've worked on this, so we'll come in here and create a variable. Actually, I do want it to be a global variable, so it stores it. This will be global volume main, and we'll set that to 100. Oops. And in here I'll go back into this volume option, and I want that to actually be retrieving the value from global volume main here. So global volume main will get set differently. So I want to try and see first. I want to get rid of all these player. Okay, I'll save that, and then I'm going to Control A, Control C, and what I want to do first is add a log message here. I want to see exactly what value I'm getting back from this, which was originally my old volume variable. Okay, so it's giving me a value between 0 and 1. And that's okay. That's kind of what I want. It's going to give me some weird, funky values the closer it gets to 0, but I'm going to multiply that value by 10, I believe. Or, wait. No. Also, not sure why I don't have sound still. I turned it off. It saves that state. It persists through game saves and restarts and everything. So I have no sound right now. Also, because I turned down the sound earlier. Let's go back in here and fix that. Turn the sound back up to 100. Just so I don't have to deal with that, I'll have it by default kick in the sound at the very beginning of the game. Okay, back in here. This gives me my 0 through 1. I think it's 100 that I want to multiply by. I can't remember. Just about. Okay, so that's what I want to set my in-game volume to. And first I want to move this guy over here. And in order to get that coordinate correct, I know it's at 512 and it's 208 wide. So 512 plus 208 is 720. So I want to put this at 720 if it's not already. And it is. So that'll be all the way up. Volume's all the way up. And we'll just go back in here. And what I want to do is set the variable, the global volume main variable, to this funky number or funky script. Oops. What I'm going to do is put a parentheses here, close that, and say times 100. And that will give me a bigger number as the global variable. And from there, I want to change the global music and audio volume with this little event. So when you start the game fresh from the beginning, that intro, or the introduction script launches a little event that turns the volume on or turns sound on. Now go back in here. And you can hear it as it turns down. Last little thing, I can actually add a little display here that shows the, let's turn that off. Let's actually say that it's going to retrieve the global variable. I want to round it, round to nearest whole with no decimals. We're going to round the global variable for global volume main. And I'll just say update real time because why not? I do want that to be centered. And I'll change that to a number value. It'll start at 100. 100. Keeping it loud for a second, sorry if it's super loud. Audio settings. Now you can see it goes all the way down to 0. And that's for all the audio. You can actually go in there, turn it way down. Die! Turn it all the way back up. And then I'm going to have it so when you turn this on and off, this goes down and back up again. So I might even have little icons for muting and whatnot. Now I want this to pan as well. We might as well keep that consistent with the rest. So grab this, and if we're on the title screen, it will scooch it. Or if we're not on the title screen, it'll pan it correctly. So got that. And then I just want to grab this title and give it a header. Audio settings. And one last quick test to make sure that puts it in the right place. There's our master audio toggle and our volume slider. And there's other ways to display the volume sliders and like have graphical units or something show up, or volume ticks, and I'll probably do that in a different video. The rest of this menu is basically going to be what I have here in my my example folder or example text file, where I will have the I've got the on-off game audio volume, AI voice volume. That'll be another slider basically. I don't even know. I think AI voice on-off will be in the audio settings menu instead, with the on-off button and a volume slider. And then I can do another for the sound effects, but I'll have to include a sound effects script in all my sound effects. So I've got some ideas for what I'm going to do there. AI audio volume, AI audio on, off. Oops, forgot my colon. And then, actually, that will be the last one. This will be sound effects on, off. And they're all going to have the same sort of setup. Just retrieving different stuff, different variables. And so I don't want that. Oops. That's going to give me an error. Just want to copy these basic ugly pieces. I'll make this into a better menu as I go. There's going to be some solid parts and some empty parts and some better looking graphics. So I'll take that, paste it here, call this one sound effects slider, or sound effects bar, and it's hard to grab those. It's hard to click them too. AI audio bar, or AI voice bar. And I should be able to separate sound effects. I won't be able to control. I might actually. Let's say AI voice on, off. But then I need a sound effects and music volume sliders. Because I can make music sliders, but I can't have on, off. So let's say sound effects volume. Music volume. I can create my own versions that do affect the audio of sounds and music. And sound effect volume, I guess, would ultimately control AI voices. So I don't need these. And then AI voice, I guess, will be on, off in the game settings. So maybe. Tricky, because I've got to squeeze everything into these small spaces. So that's how you do sliders and constrain them to the width of one of these lines. I might call it a night for tonight. I've done a couple hours of streaming tonight, and I do have to get some work done elsewhere, but I'll resume from where I left off pretty much next time I pop back on. So in the meantime, try going to screamingbrainstudios.com. I have lots of free stuff for you. There are textures and buttons and game pieces and tile sets and all kinds of old school graphics. These are all made using abandoned graphics tools that you cannot get anywhere. You cannot find them, you cannot buy them, you just can't. I've had them for years, and they're just laying around on all my computers, and I know them really well. So there's a lot of tools that you can get for free here on this tools page. And if you're interested in making your own graphics, I do have a bunch of little tutorial articles that I've written up about various old school techniques and stuff you can do with free software. So thank you guys for checking out the videos. Hopefully these have been helpful for you guys. I'm hoping to concoct a way to do some more focused videos on specific topics, but every time I'm doing work on the space game, I will be just talking about the space game. But it's possible I might branch off and do 001 Game Creator stuff, and I might hopefully do video versions of all of my tutorials on the website, so hopefully I get to those soon. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.